And right now, we are going to go to the phones where we are joined by El'Ja Bowens. He is a spoken word artist, and he's going to be performing at the Meeting Place on Market in Lima coming up Friday, October 26th, kind of a return to his old stomping grounds, coming back to perform. And El'Ja, welcome to the Wake Up Call Morning Show. Good morning.
Good morning, guys. How you guys doing?
All right. How are you? We're doing well. So I'm
doing good. Doing good. The sun's shining. I'm up. I'm alive, ready to kick off a new day, and I'm starting it with you guys. So I'm definitely thankful and blessed to have this opportunity to speak with you.
All right. And you've not only done spoken word, you've done some written word as well?
Yes, I have. I definitely, before I even started with spoken word, I started off with publishing a book when I was actually in the military. But if I was to go as far back to when I started writing, it would have to be third grade, and it was back when, this was back during the old Lima times. We had the schools that was named after like presidents and political figures like Whittier, Washington McKinley, and everything like that. So my third grade teacher actually got me interested in writing, and still got some of our books to this day laminated at her house. So that's really what got me writing. And then 10th grade is when I really started doing poetry. When I was in Lima Senior High School, my teacher had us start a poetry project. And from there, kind of was dabbling with poetry, and I really didn't start taking it serious until I was actually in the military. And during my last deployment, before coming back to the States, I had ran into a great chief warrant officer that came out with a book that he self-published himself, and he read some of my writing. It was like, I should try to do a book, and I came out with a book first. So I really started doing prose and poems, like the literary side first before I actually started into the spoken word. Spoken word really didn't come until I stumbled across an open mic and trying to promote my book. I didn't like how I sound, trying to relay a message about love when I'm just sounding very monotone. So I kept going back to the open mic to get better, and then kind of everything from that point started falling into place.
El'Ja Bowens joining us. So, like all great poets, you matured in the military. I think that's where everybody goes to learn how to write poetry.
Yeah, you can say that.
All that military slang just gets it in there. So, how would you describe, because people talk about like a spoken word artist, how would you describe it? How is it different from rapping? How is it different from other forms? What makes this this form, and I know that there's lots of spoken word artists and competitions all over the country, what makes this form a little different than other forms?
Well, with anything dealing with hip-hop or rap, I mean, even with rap itself, it's really started as an acronym. Rap really started as an acronym for rhythm and poetry. So a lot of the stuff that you hear in rap half of the time, well, I'll take this back. Let's say lyricism, because a lot of the stuff you hear on rap now is kind of But when it comes to rap, a lot of people always go off a certain rhyme scheme, like iambic pentameter, AABB. But with spoken word, it's a combination of a lot of things. It's a combination of when someone writes a poem, and then when you take that poem and you start adding the dramatic effects to it, what you see being done in performance art, what you see in stage plays. So it's a combination of both. And spoken word literally is just like a combination between performance art and poetry. You just see a lot of people when they're doing their poems, they become a little more involved with their poems as to just doing a normal reading per se. And there's nothing wrong with a normal reading, because even if you took the aspect of a normal reading, the written word at that point does become spoken word as well. But and this is just my opinion on it, so I don't want to sit here and say I'm the end-all, be-all with it. Let me clear that up now. But with spoken word, it's the added dramatic effect to it. You see people do poems where they may take on personifications of characters, and they start really acting it out. They may act out a certain thing they were still in that particular poem. So you're just adding like the dramatic effects that you would see in performance art, and you're just adding that to the poem that someone's written, and that kind of embodies the form of spoken word in a sense.
So what are some of the things that you speak about, or your poetry is about? Is it life experiences, or what are some of the things that you speak about?
Well, with me personally, it dealt with a lot. I kind of progressed over the years, like as more so now, I've kind of dealt more into a little bit more personal with me, and the reason being is because like I'm at a comfortable age now where I can actually start opening up more about myself and talk about a lot of things that I was afraid to talk about. I can tell you, for example, I went through situations where I've been homeless, where I felt like I didn't belong, and a lot of other things that made me feel incomplete. and not worth nothing. But I feel comfortable talking about those things now. At certain times, I like having fun. I like having fun poems. Like I wrote a poem about King Bowser from Super Mario Brothers being in a relationship with Princess Toadstool until Mario came, and that's what started the War of the Mushroom Kingdom. Like stuff like that, just to have fun. But
the kind of stuff
really
Shakespeare used to write about.
So it's basically just having fun with poems. I mean, sometimes you want to put your opinion on certain things that's going on in the world as well, especially with how the current climate is going on, not only in this country, but the world itself. Sometimes you put a spin on those things. With me, I kind of dibble and dabble around a lot, but for the most part, at where I'm at now, I've been writing a little bit more personal poems, just so that way people know that they're not the only ones going through those things, and there's a way out of those things. It's just, at the time I wrote them, it was just me getting it out of my system instead of keeping it in and taking that time to like ask for help. So I write about a lot. It just really depends on the mood, depends on the format, where I am in my personal space, where I'm at in the creative space, and then I just let the pen and the paper go from there.
Well, Jay, is there one moment in life that really was like a turning point for you, that really was a pivotal point in your life, or maybe it's an experience that was probably the toughest in your life that you'd like to share? So we could tell you a little bit better.
You said that was tough within my life? In my life, yes, there's definitely a lot of tough points. One particular one was, there's a poem that I wrote, and you can actually YouTube it. It's called Left, Right, Left. So the whole story with this particular poem, it deals with two things. It deals with a person I met while I was in the military, and it also deals with what happened with me when I got out of the military. And it was a situation where I got out the military. I had a lot going on for me, and even at that time, I didn't have a balance of what to do, which I know that sounds crazy, but that's how it was. Like, I had a lot going on for me. I got out. I took a couple of months off from working. I got a job, and I was still trying to find balance with a lot of stuff that at the end of the day, I ended up becoming homeless, but I still had a job, which a lot of people don't know about that, because people don't think that happens to folks, but that does happen when you're having a job and you have to live out of your car at the same time because of certain things. So it was like a rough period where I had to like try to find balance, try to get everything back on point, and make sure I didn't lose my faith in anything. Because I know a lot of times when you get put in situations where your faith gets tested, you can either fight that feeling and keep trying to make it, or you submit to it and then see what happens. So I fought through it, kept high on my faith, and I definitely got out of that situation. But it helped inspire a poem that resonates with a lot of veterans today, especially with veterans that go through these things when they get out the military, or when they try to find help and people don't want to help them out because of the current situation they're in. And it really was a poem that it changed a lot. Like that, the whole time frame of writing that poem really changed the scope of everything that I do now for the past 4 years. And at the same time, I wrote that poem around the time I found my wife. So I'm definitely in a good place now, and it helped change a lot of things. So
how do you integrate your faith? You talk about your faith. How do you integrate your faith into your poetry?
Well, the way I integrate my faith in my poetry, it's crazy because you have so many poems that happen, and a lot of people write certain things about their poems, and then even with certain situations, you have to talk about it, because at the end of the day, sometimes when you talk about your personal poems, you're going to make a room or yourself uncomfortable with that. But the biggest thing is you find a way to let people know it's going to be okay. So a lot of the poems that I've written, I'll talk about the situation I went through, and then talk about how I got out of it, how I was thankful that I didn't lose the path that I was on. And one thing is, so there's a poem that I've written called Perfect. And to use it in the context, I would say you can either believe in a higher power, or you can believe in America. You can believe in America. You can believe in America. You can believe in a higher power, but authenticity will outlast and knock off at any given time. Meaning that at the end of the day, there's a higher power that sees everything we do, as compared to what man does. But at the end of the day, man can only do so much until it breaks. But faith never breaks if you stay strong to it. And, like, that helps push you through a lot of things. So, for me, it always put me through a lot of things. I could sit here and say I've been a testimony to a lot of stuff that's happened in my life, and I always try to incorporate that without making it sound like it's forced. I just let people know it's that story because a lot of people don't know those things. And when you hear the poems and you hear how you came through it, it opens the door for other folks to say, hey, you know what? I didn't know that you went through that. I went through this too. And then it sparks the conversation to say, well, these are the things I worked through to get through it. Hopefully they can help you too, because at the end of the day, when you're doing spoken word, you're almost becoming a messenger of sorts. You have to take that entertainment aspect out of it, because at the end of the day, it's entertainment, but also you're a messenger for a situation that's going on that you know may help somebody that's in the crowd listening to you. So you have to use your faith in that to help those people, because you wrote those poems for those folks too, along with for yourself.
We're talking with El'Ja Bowens.
I know that's a mouthful. Sorry about that.
That's all right, that's all right. We're talking with El'Ja Bowens, spoken word artist, who will be performing at the Meeting Place on Market in downtown Lima next Friday, October 26th, 7 to 9 p.m. It's a free event, but donations will be accepted. El'Ja, could you give us a little taste of what we'll be hearing next Friday night?
Yeah, definitely. Matter of fact, I'm actually going to do the poem I was just talking about called Perfect. So it's a short poem, but I definitely hope everybody enjoys it. And if everybody's listening, I really hope that this is something that gets you through your day, especially if you're going through the situation. I know what it's like to be broken, waiting for someone or something to come along and fix you, but you're afraid that it may not have the skills adequate to do the job properly. Sometimes I wish I knew if I were really happy. Like, is this feeling authentic, or is it more so false evidence appearing real? Tell me what makes me tick. Am I perfectly stitched together with zigzag lines to show you a crooked smile when I only want to project to you picture-perfect peace? Sometimes I feel like I'm put together like Frankenstein's monster, because the irony between himself and I is that we feel like we're just another bad creation. You see, these hands have so many issues that the brain no longer wants to subscribe to them, but I have to ask, are you as judgmental as the folks that you hang around with, or do you feel it is best that you speak upon their behalf? How about you show me a sign that's different from a stationary octagon? Momentary glances at my upper torso resembles the Earth's plane, showing distinctions of when my thoughts shifted, rearranged to new territory to be explored over, and I disregarded the sprites that illustrate me, because the world feels that image is everything and thirst must be obeyed. Be afraid when you see me because you feel I don't belong, and then tell me that I am a freak because I have a heart that's 5 times bigger than the average. Some say that I care too much, but I say it's more of a condition that I don't want to change, but I'm used to this muscle hurting when it overextends itself. Leave your beautifully handcrafted remarks for folks that seek validation, because those are the same folks that hide truth as if it's a blemish on their skin. Share yourself like Rocky Dennis, because a mask will only lead you to portray a role. Forever love all weaknesses and pull those words away from your face to see the beautiful flaw hidden within a sentence. So you can either be made in his image, or you could be made in America, but authenticity will outlast a knockoff at any given time. Trace the scars that are left on you, and you'll see that led you to a place that you already were to begin with. Perfect.
No, that's good.
Awesome.
El'Ja Bowens, spoken word artist with Perfect. And one of the pieces you may hear coming up next Friday at the Meeting Place on Market. And El'Ja, if folks want to find out more information about your poetry, about the event coming up next Friday, how can they do so?
You can definitely, if you're on Twitter or Instagram, you can definitely look me up at El'Ja Poetry. That's ELJA Poetry. And if you also want to check out a couple of more videos and other information, you can go to my website, which is eljpoetry.com. That's ELJApoetry.com. You can definitely find out information on both sites, shows I'll be attending, video content, merchandise, a whole bunch of stuff, but definitely follow me on Twitter and Instagram at ELJA Poetry.
Excellent. Hey, El'Ja, thank you so much for spending some time with us this morning, and we really appreciate you being here.
No problem. Thank you guys for having me. You guys take care.